Hey now, it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm going with solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking TNA wrestling, and man, oh man, do we got a lot to talk about this week. I honestly was worried coming into this week because the TV show, and we'll get to my Impact reaction, but not as far as the on air TV stuff. Um, there's not much excitement around the product that's on television right now. Like they're going into Victory Road, and I would say Victory Road is kind of being built very lazily. So I was like, oh man, I'm gonna come into this week and it's gonna be a negative show, especially because we started off the week with the Gisele Shaw news, and it looked like, oh man, I'm gonna have to come on the air and be a jerk. But to be honest with you, we did get some, I would say, pretty good news. By the end of the week, I would say like TNA fans got some things to be excited about and to be happy about. That doesn't mean we're out of the woods completely, but we do have some excitement on the way. So let's go ahead and get into Giselle Shaw. Um, and so Giselle Shaw was granted her release from TNA. So I did have an article that came out earlier this week, but the news was broken by Fightful Select, which typically is. Giselle Shaw's departure marks the latest shift within the Knockouts division, according to a report from Fightful Select. Shaw recently requested her release from TNA Wrestling, which was granted under the condition she fulfill her obligations at the Louisville tapings. Shaw's final match, which was filmed over the weekend, saw her put over another talent, which we'll get into soon, officially ending her tenure with the company. So she's had, yeah, she had a good run here for 3 years. I'll be honest, they never really got behind Shaw, and I thought that they would because I felt like um, in the ring she was as good as anybody that they had. But they never got behind her, and I don't know if that had anything to do with her relationship with Scott D'Amore. Um, I'm talking like even when D'Amore was president, I'm like maybe like he signed her, but maybe he's like if I just make her the champion, people can think that she's the champion because it's my girlfriend, right? Um, Speaking of which, the departure is reported. So BQ on the Impact Lounge. I got this information from him. I'm pretty sure he said it on his show, but me and him had talked about it in text. So I wanted to make sure to just give him credit. So when Scott D'Amore got fired, and Giselle Shaw kind of took some time off and then came back, that was a very difficult thing for them to be able to pull off because she did not want to come back. And they worked on it. They worked on it. They kept talking to her, and they finally were get her to able to agree to come back. And she did, and it looked like she was coming back for a big push. She was, you did those vignettes with Gail Kim, but then all of a sudden, the Gail Kim part of her story just stopped. We didn't see Gail, and next thing you know, she's just trading wins and losses with Tasha Steeles, who I think will, I if I were to make a prediction, she's probably the next one to go, because they're just not doing anything with her. She just is just toiling around, not doing anything. There's no story for her. So, but yeah, I figured that something was up whenever Gail Kim was no longer part of that story, and then just Giselle was just kind of like mingling on the undercard and on the pre-show, and like she would be like Tasha and Gail would be having these matches in the middle of these hot shows with all these hot stories, and they would be having these matches, and nobody would care because it's like the story was so lame. It's like, oh well, you beat me, but you had your foot on the ropes, so now I hate you. So now we must fight again. And then it's like, okay, yeah, we know that Giselle's probably gonna get the next victory, which is basically what happened. And it's just like such lame paint by numbers. And I accuse TNA of that. They're very lazy when it comes to creative a lot of times, especially with some of their lower card stuff. It's very like, piss on it. We'll just slap it together. Okay, you take a turn, you take a turn. Everybody gets the chance to get a victory here. That way, we make everybody happy. Um, but I thought but the thing is like I was kind of upset that she was released because I'm like, she's a good wrestler. So, she really is. Like, she's not a top tier talent. Let's not let's not say that. But this division is lacking good wrestlers, right? So she's in that upper tier of, like, she's not as good as Masha. She's not as good as Jordan Grace. She's a step below them, but she's still very good. Hold on, I got a cat here that needs my attention. So he okay, I'm coming, dude. Hold on. I'm coming. This is me copying BQ again. There you go, kitty. Finn the demon cat was mad at me this morning because he somehow he made his way into this room and passed out, and probably just because we left the door open. And at the end of the night, I think, well, before we went to bed, we just shut all the doors. And so he was stuck in here by himself all night. Didn't have access to his cat box or nothing. And then so I come up here and I get the thing ready, and he's like, as soon as I open the door, he just runs at me and then jumps on me and claws the crap out of my shoulders. So I was like, oh shit, sorry, dude. Yeah, you were locked in here all night. So I let him out for a little bit, and then turns out he was a bit lonely. And so he wanted to come in here and hang out. But now that I'm not paying attention to him, he's all pissed. So life of a pet owner there. But yeah, so she was not an upper tier talent by any means, but she's still a pretty good wrestler. And I was sorry to see her go because the division was already in need. It's like we don't need less talent, guys. We need more. So why are we letting this one go? But look, if somebody's unhappy there, if somebody doesn't want to work there, you also don't want to hold them hostage. And I think that's what they were probably going to be getting accused of if they kept her there any longer. And but she was a professional. They did everything right on the way out. They did business on the way out. She's wrestling Heather Reckless coming up, who just signed, and I'm going to talk about her in a little bit. And I think we all know how that one's going to go. So, yeah, Gisele had a good little run, but I just never felt like it got to where it could have been. They never really got behind her. And I don't know that any other company will actually get behind her either. I'm going to be curious. I know she's going to be working with Maple Leaf Pro, clearly. I mean, that's her boyfriend's company. So, yeah, she's going to be taking bookings there, which tells me she's probably not going to WWE. Would AEW kick the tires on her? Probably. I think that they would, because she is a good wrestler. I think she would be a good talent for Ring of Honor. I think that her and Athena could have a good match. Especially because I think Athena could work kind of a harder style that Gisele Shaw can take, and so I could see stuff like that. I could see something like that, but I don't see her being like a top tier star anywhere she goes, and that's not like a knock on her. I think that's just what her limitations are. But I think she's a good person to have on your roster, because I think at any moment, if you need somebody to go out there and have a pretty good match, she can do it. And she got a good gimmick too. I like the gimmick. So yeah. But yeah, she's gone, man. I was not happy to see that.